the press have been the victims of a manipulation campaign. And I can say this because I actually have documents to prove it. So in the United States, the organization that has been most active, most vocal, most vociferous in challenging the science of climate science since the early 1990s is an organization called the George Marshall Institute. It's a think tank based in Washington, D.C. It's mostly run and populated by scientists, but they don't actually do scientific research. They don't do original scientific research. They write reports discussing science that's relevant to policy questions. And since the early 1990s, global warming has been one of their big issues. So the Marshall Institute was founded in 1984 by a physicist by the name of Robert Jastrow. Jastrow was an astrophysicist. He'd worked on the NASA space science programs in the 1960s, very distinguished, very accomplished scientist. He had also written a number of popular books, a very effective communicator. In the early 1980s, he joined forces with a number of other scientists to create the Marshall Institute. And the reason they wanted to create it was to defend Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiative. Now, they didn't do scientific research. They didn't organize sessions in scientific conferences. They didn't have panels at scientific meetings. So they didn't try to engage their other fellow physicists to discuss the issue. What they did was they targeted the media. So you had a group of physicists challenging the sensibility of SDI. The Marshall Institute, Jastrow and his colleagues, challenged the challenges, and the strategy was to do it in the mass media. And the strategy was to get equal time for their view. So even though the vast majority of physicists opposed SDI, they adopt the strategy to get equal time for their views. And I have evidence, historical evidence, to suggest that it was effective. And one of the things that they did was early on in the campaign, in America, National Public Television created a program that they wanted to air about SDI, and that was focused a great deal on the physicists' objections. So this was a factually based program. It was a documentary documenting the reasons why so many physicists were opposing SDI. Jastrow sent a letter to every single public television station in the United States threatening them with lawsuits under the fairness doctrine if they aired this program. And the consequence of that was that these stations pulled the program and didn't air it. So a kind of chilling effect. And so they realized that this was an extremely effective strategy and that they could demand equal time for their views. Now, there's a great historical irony about this because, so this happened in 1984, 85, 86 during the American presidency of Ronald Reagan. At this very same time, Ronald Reagan was actually dismantling the fairness doctrine on the grounds that the proliferation of cable television made it unnecessary to have a fairness doctrine anymore. But of course, most guys, if you were just a guy in a local TV station, you didn't necessarily know that, and you certainly didn't want to have to worry about a lawsuit. And so the strategy proved extremely effective. And so they pursued it over time. And over time, it became a major strategy for people to demand fair time, to demand balance, and that strategy has proved extremely effective. The Marshall Institute did not begin life connected with the fossil fuel industry, but as you've pointed out, they are now. So over time, when Marshall Institute took up global warming as an issue, fossil fuel industry saw there was potential for common cause. They've, over the years, become connected with ExxonMobil and other industrial groups, receiving lots of money, which then gives them, of course, the resources to spread their message more widely. So that's one part of how they have power and influence, because they have a lot of money. And money helps you buy airtime, money helps you get out pamphlets, money helps you travel, money helps you do all kinds of things that most climate scientists don't have money to do.